My girlfriend joked about dating her friend's rich boyfriend, then I snapped, and everyone turned on me. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I've been dating my girlfriend, Michelle, she's 24, for about a year now. One thing I always appreciated about her was that she never seemed all that into material things. That's why it kind of threw me off when she started making little jokes about money not too long ago. About 2 weeks back, we decided to move in together. We figured it'd make more sense financially, way cheaper than either of us commuting every single day just to see each other. She had her own apartment already, so I moved in with her. Since then, we've basically been sharing expenses, splitting the rent, groceries, and other day-to-day stuff. At first, it was just lighthearted. She'd say things like, "Man, if I had landed a millionaire, I wouldn't have to worry about rent or groceries ever again," and I'd laugh it off. I knew she was joking, and honestly, who wouldn't daydream about dating someone rich and living that fairy tale life? I didn't take it seriously. But things shifted recently after her friend Claire started seeing this guy named Thomas. And this guy, well, he's living the dream. His dad directs movies, and his mom produces them. So yeah, big-time Hollywood family. On top of that, he's ridiculously good-looking and apparently gearing up to follow in his dad's footsteps and become an actor. Honestly, he looks like every celebrity Michelle's ever crushed on rolled into one person. The guy's a perfect 10, no exaggeration. I'm usually not the type to feel insecure, but meeting Thomas made me second-guess myself in a big way. The first time Claire introduced us, Michelle couldn't take her eyes off him. I'm not even kidding, she stared at him like she was in some cartoon, jaw basically on the floor. I had to gently elbow her just to remind her I was standing right there. It stung. Big time. After that night, Michelle started tossing out these little jokes more often, saying stuff like how life would be so much easier if she were with someone like Thomas instead of me. At first, I brushed it off, told myself she was just messing around. But it started happening more regularly, and I'll be honest, it got to me. Especially since I was already feeling kind of small after seeing how she reacted to him. What made it worse was, she wasn't wrong. Thomas is impressive. He's got the money, the looks, the charm, the connections, pretty much everything I'm not. And when your own girlfriend keeps bringing that up, even as a joke, it doesn't exactly help your self-esteem. Then, about 3 days ago, Claire asked us to join her and Thomas on a double date. I wasn't thrilled about it, and I tried to find an excuse not to go, but Michelle insisted. She didn't want to take no for an answer, so I gave in. We met up for dinner and drinks last night. The whole time, Michelle kept stealing glances at Thomas. Claire didn't seem to catch on, but I sure did. At one point, Thomas stepped away to take a phone call, and Claire started gushing about this bracelet he bought her out of nowhere. It looked insanely expensive, definitely not the kind of thing I could afford without saving up for months. I sat there, silently praying Michelle wouldn't say anything. But of course, she did. Laughing, she blurted out how lucky Claire was and said she wished she was dating Thomas instead. Both of them laughed it off like it was nothing, but that was the breaking point for me. I couldn't just smile and play along anymore. I snapped. I told her that if she liked him so much, maybe she should be with him instead. Then I stood up, walked out of the restaurant, grabbed a cab, and headed back to the apartment. Once there, I packed up some clothes and essentials, then went straight to my cousin's place. He lives nearby and has always had my back. When I explained everything to him, he didn't hesitate to let me crash at his place until I could figure out what to do next. After I calmed down, I started to regret how I handled things. I knew I shouldn't have lost my temper like that, but the damage was already done. My cousin tried to reassure me, said I wasn't crazy for feeling the way I did. He pointed out that Michelle had been comparing me to Thomas over and over again, even if she thought it was harmless. That stuff adds up. I'd never do that to her, not even as a joke, because I know it would hurt. I've been doing everything I can to be a good boyfriend. My wallet isn't bottomless, and I don't have wealthy parents backing me, but I try to make what I do have count. I take her out whenever I can, surprise her with small gifts pretty often, and always try to show her how much she means to me. She returns the gestures too, but the difference is I genuinely appreciate them. Lately, though, I'm not sure she feels the same about the things I do for her. Last night, I was just feeling so hurt and angry that I turned my phone off and went to bed without a second thought. This morning, I woke up feeling like crap. Before heading to work, I decided I should swing by the apartment and try to talk to her. She hadn't texted or called me at all since the night before, and honestly, I didn't even blame her. When I got there, though, things were off. She was distant and cold, barely said a word. I tried bringing up what happened, but she cut me off before I could get a full sentence out. She told me she wouldn't discuss anything unless I first apologized to her and to Claire for how I acted. That kind of shocked me. I had planned to say sorry, but I also felt like she owed me an apology too. I mean, I didn't explode for no reason. She'd been needling at me, even if she didn't realize it, and it built up. I agree I owed Claire an apology, no doubt about that, but I didn't appreciate being ordered around like that. It rubbed me the wrong way, and since we were already on shaky ground, that just made it worse. So, I said what I was thinking. I told her I'd apologize, but only if she was willing to do the same. I told Michelle that I'd only apologize if she did too, because honestly, the things she'd been saying weren't just jokes anymore, they were starting to feel cruel. We ended up going back and forth for a few minutes, tossing blame at each other like a hot potato, until I finally gave up. I was already running late for work and didn't want to drag it out anymore. Before I left, I told her straight up that what she'd said and done was out of line and just plain disrespectful. She snapped right back with, "Well, I could say the same about you." So yeah, I headed out the door in a foul mood and stayed that way the rest of the day. Now it's been nearly 24 hours since everything blew up, and nothing's changed. We're both still stuck in this silent standoff. Truthfully, I hate every second of it. I miss her, I want things to go back to normal, but at the same time, I don't want to be the guy who always says sorry just to keep the peace, especially when I genuinely don't believe I was the only one in the wrong. I've heard so many of my buddies vent about how their girlfriends expect them to apologize no matter what, just to smooth things over. I never really got that. Maybe I'm being stubborn or letting my ego run the show, but I just don't think it's right to apologize if you're not actually at fault. And what stings even more is that Michelle hasn't even pretended to feel bad about how she's been acting. Even during the argument, she kept bringing up how she'd made similar jokes in the past and I had laughed along, so I shouldn't suddenly be mad about it now. But the truth is, I wasn't laughing anymore. If she didn't catch that, then maybe she needs to pay closer attention to how I react instead of assuming it's all fun and games. All that being said, I still love her. I really do. And I'm tired of fighting. So here I am, reaching out and asking for advice. Am I the jerk for snapping at her in front of her friend after she kept making those jokes about wanting to be with said friend's boyfriend? Update 1. After reading through some of the replies, I did some thinking and decided to go ahead and apologize to Michelle. I realized that maybe I was letting my pride get in the way of something that mattered a whole lot more, our relationship. Now, that doesn't mean what she was doing was okay. Far from it. She'd been testing my patience with those jokes, and honestly, it wasn't funny anymore. It's been a couple of days since all this happened, and I finally worked up the nerve to go see her this morning. I brought along a bouquet of pink tulips, her favorite, and a box of chocolates, because she's a total sucker for rom-com style gestures and I figured it might help soften things up. The moment she opened the door and saw me, her face just lit up. And before I could even say anything, she beat me to it, apologizing right away. She told me she was actually planning to come by my cousin's place that same day to say sorry in person. She admitted she'd been acting foolish and insensitive, and she promised not to joke about stuff like that anymore. She also told me that while she thought Thomas was good-looking, he didn't mean anything to her. She couldn't picture herself with anyone else but me. And yeah, I owned up to my part too. I should have just been honest with her from the start and told her those jokes were hurting me instead of pretending everything was fine until I lost it. Turns out, there was more going on than I realized. Michelle opened up about her relationship with money, how she grew up barely getting by and never really had nice things. She's worked incredibly hard to get where she is, and in the beginning, she kept quiet about her attachment to material stuff because she didn't want me to think she was a gold digger. But now that we're living together, she figured it was safe to let that side of her show, even if it came out in dumb jokes. She also admitted that she's been thinking about quitting her job lately, which explains why finances have been weighing so heavily on her mind. It all started to make sense, the pressure, the jokes, the comparisons. She knows she handled it badly, and I appreciate her owning that. So yeah, we patched things up, and I'm glad I put my ego aside. I feel like we've come out stronger on the other side. Update 2. Well, I'm back again, but not because of any new problems between Michelle and me. Thankfully, we're doing okay. The drama this time? Claire and Thomas. 3 days have passed since Michelle and I reconciled. I also made sure to apologize to Claire for how I acted that night at dinner, and she accepted it without making a big deal. But I guess she must have told Thomas everything, maybe even made it sound like a joke, because the guy somehow got the idea that Michelle was secretly into him. Yeah, for real. Today, Michelle showed me a text from Thomas where he literally asked her out on a date. She looked embarrassed and said no right away, making it clear that she's with me and plans on staying that way. She told him she was just joking before, that none of it meant anything, and that she wasn't into him at all. She's pretty upset about the whole thing because now she feels like she has no choice but to tell Claire what happened. She's blaming herself, thinking that this wouldn't have happened if she hadn't made those comments in the first place. And yeah, I hate to admit it, but there's probably some truth in that. Still, Thomas hitting on her isn't really her fault. If he was a decent guy, he would have let it go, or at the very least, distanced himself from us. But no, he went ahead and texted her like he had a shot. Michelle plans to tell Claire soon, but before doing that, she just kept apologizing to me over and over again. She knows this whole thing spiraled out of control and she feels awful. I've already forgiven her, but I still hate that she has to deal with all this. It's just a crappy situation all around, and now we're both hoping Claire sees Thomas for who he really is and dumps him. Update 3. So, Michelle just told Claire. And wow, Claire completely lost it. I wasn't even on the phone, but I could hear her shouting from across the room. She was that loud. When Claire found out what happened, she completely lost it. She yelled at Michelle for several minutes, accusing her of not only blowing up her own relationship but destroying Claire's in the process. She claimed she'd always had a gut feeling something like this would happen eventually. She even accused Michelle of trying to steal Thomas away from her, painting her as some kind of relationship saboteur who had been plotting this all along just to have Thomas for herself. Michelle didn't say a word during the call. She just stood there and took it, probably because deep down, she knew that her careless jokes had set everything in motion. But to me, Claire's claim about Michelle sabotaging everything felt like a massive leap. Still, I didn't step in, it was their friendship, their fight. I didn't want to make things worse by jumping in the middle. Honestly, the whole thing's just a mess. It's one of those situations where everything feels murky, and it's hard to tell who's right, who's wrong, or if anyone really is. Update 4. 2 days have passed since Michelle came clean to Claire about Thomas texting her. Since then, Claire has blocked both of us everywhere, on socials, texts, you name it. But, weirdly enough, she still hasn't broken up with Thomas. And sure, it's none of our business what she does in her relationship, but what is our business is the twisted version of the story she's been spreading around. Apparently, she's been telling people that Michelle was making moves on Thomas right in front of her during our double date. She claims that Thomas, being the poor gentleman, had to tell Michelle to stop because he was uncomfortable, and Michelle got mad and lashed out. According to Claire, I just stood by, watching it all happen. I don't know why she's pushing that ridiculous narrative, though it kind of makes sense. In the real story, Claire was laughing right along with Michelle when the joke was made. If she wants sympathy from people, she probably knows that won't fly, so she's rewriting history. Now, people are texting us left and right, asking for the juicy details. It's exhausting. And while Michelle had already admitted her joke was out of line, the smear campaign is something else entirely. She didn't do the things Claire's accusing her of, none of it happened that way. And it's beyond frustrating that she's taking the heat for something Thomas did. Honestly, I'm not even sure Claire genuinely liked Thomas for who he was. If she had, she wouldn't have laughed when Michelle cracked that joke, and she sure wouldn't have called him a catch like he was some prize to be won. The truth is, Claire's always gravitated toward guys with money. That's her thing, and hey, no judgment. But acting like she's a saint while trying to drag us through the mud? That's where I draw the line. At some point, we're going to have to tell our side of the story publicly if we have to. Michelle's not afraid to own up to what she said. She already did. But she shouldn't be forced to say sorry for things she didn't even do. And I shouldn't have to either. Some of our so-called friends have even started throwing jabs at me. One guy told me I need to control my woman. Like we're living in the 1950s or something. I've got no clue how I ended up being the bad guy here, but whatever. As long as Michelle sets the record straight, I'll stand by her. Update 5. A few days ago, Michelle finally posted the full story online. She wanted to get the truth out there, plain and simple. She owned up to her part, admitted the joke she made about Thomas was in poor taste, and offered a public apology not just to me and Claire, but to Thomas too. I'd already forgiven her, so that part didn't faze me. What mattered more was that she also pushed back against the lies Claire had been spreading. She made it clear that while she was sorry for the joke, she was furious about all the made-up nonsense that followed. She explained that Thomas had texted her, not the other way around. She even included a screenshot of the message to back it up. She also reminded everyone that Claire had laughed along with her when the joke was made and had even called Thomas a catch, and she hadn't been joking when she said it. She laid it all out so people could judge for themselves. Of course, not everyone took it well. Some folks still blamed her entirely, but a good number actually saw the full picture and realized Claire had no business twisting the story like that in the first place. That said, the fallout's been rough. Some friends cut us off completely, choosing to believe Claire's version of events. And no matter how much we tell ourselves we don't care, it hurts. We've always been pretty social, always had people around us. So, losing that support circle has definitely stung. Michelle's especially shaken. She and Claire had been close since college, and this betrayal hit hard. I'm honestly at a loss right now, just hoping this all ends soon. Update 6, Final. It's been a week since the last update, and hopefully, this is the last chapter in this whole saga. Claire and Thomas? They're done. Or more accurately, he broke up with her. Turns out she'd forced him to block both of us right after the fallout, so he never even saw Michelle's post. But a mutual friend showed it to him, and that's when everything clicked for him. He told her he was offended by the way she kept calling him a catch, like all he had going for him was his bank account. That, plus the fact that she'd been racking up a crazy amount of debt on his credit card, the one he'd given her for emergencies only, was enough. He realized she cared more about his money than about him. And the cherry on top? He hadn't even liked her that much to begin with, which is pretty clear given he tried to ask Michelle out. So yeah, he walked away. Claire, on the other hand, is losing it. She's been telling everyone that we ruined her relationship out of jealousy, that we staged that whole fight at the restaurant just so she'd lower her guard and spill everything to Thomas. I mean, I wish we were that cunning. But the truth is, none of us saw this coming. Now, even though some of our old friends know we weren't lying, they still act like we're the ones who wrecked everything. I guess they just can't bring themselves to admit Claire was the problem all along. But honestly, we're not dwelling on it anymore. Michelle just landed a new job at a much better company, thanks to her uncle, yeah, but also because she's genuinely talented and has worked hard to prove it. She's getting a solid raise and a better position. I'm proud of her. So proud, in fact, I'm throwing her a party just to celebrate and help us move past all this chaos. As for me, there's been some talk at work about a promotion. Nothing confirmed yet, but if the office gossip's true, I might be stepping up by the end of the month too. So yeah, the Claire drama? That chapter's closed. Finally.